let's proceed to 12.3, the basic elements of the unmodified report. So, each part of the audit report is significant in terms of the information conveyed to the users and the responsibility assumed by the auditor. PSA 700 sets out the following requirements relating to the elements of unmodified report. So, according to the book of Hermosilla, Salusag, Col, and Chu, there are 10 basic elements of the unmodified report. The first one is the title. Second is addressee. Third, auditor's opinion. Fourth is the basis for opinion. Fifth is the responsibilities for financial statements. Sixth is the auditor's responsibilities for audit of the financial statements. Seventh is the other reporting responsibilities. Eighth is the auditor's signature. Ninth is the auditor's address. And the 10th is the date of the report. So let us discuss these 10 basic elements one by one. So I provided you an example of an independent auditor's report. Itong example na kinuha ko is galing to sa libro ni Hermosilla, Chu, and Salusag, Col. So the first basic element is the title. The auditor's report must have a title that clearly indicates that it is the report of an independent auditor. This is done in order to, first, is to distinguish the auditor's report from the reports that might be issued by others. And the second one is to emphasize the independence of the auditor with respect to the client being audited. So, as you can see, dyan sa sample na provide ko, is nakalagay mismo sa taas, di ba? Independent auditor's report. May word na independent. Bakit? Para malaman kaagad ng users na yung opinion ng auditor is independent or objective. Ibig sabihin, hindi bias yung opinion ng na-provide ng auditor. And also, kailangan nakalagay dito independent auditor's report kasi para mas madali siyang ma-distinguish sa ibang klase pa ng report. The second basic element is the addressee. So the report should be addressed to those parties for whom the report is prepared. Ordinarily, the audit report is addressed to the shareholders or the board of directors of the entity whose financial statements are being audited. To emphasize auditor's independence from client's management, the auditor would normally address the report to the shareholders of the client company. It would not be appropriate for the auditor to address the report to the entity's president, chief executive officer, or the chief financial officer because these are members of management who are responsible for the preparation and presentation of the financial statements audited. As a regulatory requirement, if the auditor's report accompanying the financial statements is to be filed with the regulatory agencies, the Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission or the SEC requires the auditor's report to indicate the complete mailing address of the client. So, meaning, dito sa addressee, dapat i-address mo siya sa shareholders or sa board of directors. Bakit? Kasi sila yung gagawa ng decisions based dun sa opinion na provide mo as an auditor. And as much as possible, it is better kung i-address mo siya sa lahat ng users. But if not possible, dahil nga sobrang dami ng users, pwede naman na i-address mo na lang siya dun sa mga directly affected. And also, avoid na i-address siya sa specific na tao, specific name ng person. Kasi, pag in-address mo siya dun sa specific na tao, baka magkaroon ng misunderstanding sa mga users na intended lang itong report na ito dun sa specific na tao na in-address mo. So, yun, i-avoid dapat yun. So, as you can see dun sa sample, di ba, to the shareholders of CRC Ace Company. So, yun, ganun dapat. Dapat na i-address siya dun sa intended users. And then, the third basic element is the auditor's opinion. The auditor's opinion, the readers of the financial statements are very much interested in the type of opinion expressed by the auditor. So, to give more prominence of the auditor's opinion, the opinion of the auditor is placed in the first section of the auditor's report. This section should have the heading opinion and should first identify the name of the entity whose financial statements have been audited. Second is to state the financial statements have been audited. Third is identify the title of each of the financial statements audited, including the date and period covered by the financial statements, and refer to the summary significant accounting policies and explanatory notes. And the last one is express an opinion on the financial statements, stating that in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respect, ganyan, in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. So, tingnan nyo yung sample na provide ko. Diba? Dito, we have audited the financial statements of CRCA's company, which is, sabi nga, dito sa audit part ng auditor's opinion, dapat yung name nung entity na ino-audit mo yung financial statements, dapat nakalagay, which is ito dito, CRCA's company. Then, state the financial statements have been audited. So, ito yon. We have audited the financial statements of CRC company, which comprise ito, statements of financial position at December 31, 2022 and 2021, and the statements of comprehensive income, and statements of changes in equity, and statement of cash flows for the year then ended, and the notes to the financial statements, including a summary significant accounting policies. So, diba, dun pa lang makikita nyo na yung sinabi na, yung requirement na sinasabi dito sa auditor's opinion. Sinabi yung pangalan ng entity ng ini-audit, sinabi kung anong klase ng mga financial statements yung ino-audit, and inilagay din kung anong period ng financial statements yung ino-audit, and of course the significant accounting, the summary of significant accounting policies. And sabi dito sa letter E, express an opinion on financial statements. Ito, stating that, ito nga, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the company as at December 31, 2022 and 2021, and its financial performance and its cash flows for the years ended in accordance with the Philippine Financial Reporting Standards. So, meaning to say, ang opinion ng auditor is unmodified. Ibig sabihin, pinapatotohanan nila o naniniwala o nag-a-agree sila sa naging assertion ng management. Sinasabi nila na totoo o fairly presented yung financial statement ng management. And the fourth element is the basis for opinion. The auditor's report should have a section with the heading Basis for Opinion. This part of the report describes the framework for an audit that enables the auditor to express an opinion on the financial statements. This is presented immediately after the opinion section and should, so meaning to say that the purpose of this section, which is the basis for opinion, is to discuss yung mga circumstances na nagbibigay ng rights kay auditor na mag-express ng opinion. Okay, so ngayon, guys, basahin natin yung independent report or independent auditor's report na provide ko. Tingnan natin kung nasunod ba dun sa section na yun, sa basis for opinion, itong sinasabi dito sa standards. So, first, is sabi nun sa standard, state that the audit was conducted in accordance with the Philippine Standards on Auditing. So, dito sa sample, nakalagay, we conducted our audit in accordance with the Philippine Standards on Auditing. So, nasunod siya. And then the second, sabi sa standards, refer to the section of the auditor's report that describes the auditor's responsibilities under PSAs. So, dito naman sa sample, nakalagay, our responsibilities under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement section of our report. We are independent of the company in accordance with the Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants in the Philippines, or Code of Ethics, together with the ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in the Philippines. And we have fulfilled our ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and the Code of Ethics. So, sa standards, yung second and yung third na requirement, nakalagay, refer to the section of the auditor's report that describes the auditor's responsibilities under PSAs and include a statement that the auditor is independent of the entity and has fulfilled the auditor's ethical responsibilities. So, di ba, yung nakalagay sa standards, makikita din natin dun sa report. Ibig sabihin, nagawa. And then, the last requirement ng standard is state whether the auditor believes that the audit evidence the auditor has obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for the auditor's opinion. So, tingnan natin yung last sentence dun sa sample. Nakalagay, we believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. So, yon, ibig sabihin, nasunod din. So, tama yung pagkakagawa nung section na basis for opinion dito sa sample. The fifth element is responsibilities for the financial statements. So, the financial statements are the responsibilities of the client, and this fact is reiterated in the auditor's report. So, the auditor's report should have a section with a heading Responsibilities of Management and those charged with governance for the financial statements. This section should describe, first, the management responsibility for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework and for such internal control necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from material misstatement. And second, the responsibility of the management in assessing entities' ability to continue as a going concern and whether the use of the going concern basis of accounting is appropriate, as well as disclosing, if applicable, matters relating to going concern. And last one is the responsibility of those charged with governance for overseeing financial reporting process. So, ngayon guys, basahin natin kung nasunod ba ito dun sa sample. So, yon, una, di ba? Dapat may heading na responsibilities of management and those charged with governance for the financial statement. So, nasunod siya. And then the management is responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in accordance with PFRS. And for such internal control as management determines is necessary to enable the preparation of financial statements that are free from misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. So, yung unang requirement dito, yung letter A sa PowerPoint ko, is makikita natin dun sa mismong sample. So, ibig sabihin, na nasunod siya ng auditor. And then second is in preparing the financial statements, management is responsible for assessing the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern and using going concern basis of accounting unless management either intends to liquidate the company or to cease operation or has no realistic alternative but to do so. So basically, letter B na na-meet din siya or nagawa din siya. And itong regarding sa going concern is mas i-discuss pa ito ng mga susunod na reporters. And then the next one, which is the last requirement, is the responsibility of those charged with governance for overseeing financial reporting process. So, dito sa sample nakalagay, those charged with governance are responsible for overseeing the company's financial reporting process. So, yon, same. Ibig sabihin, na kumpleto yung requirements na kumpleto ng auditor sa ginawa niyang auditor's report. So, for the sixth element, it is the auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statements. So, dito, medyo mahaba siya, pero kung babasahin nyo yung sa sample, nasunod niya yung sinasabi ng standards. In short, yung auditor's responsibilities for the audit of the financial statement, it just says na dapat i-state ng auditor kasama sa responsibility ng isang auditor na syempre mag-express ng opinion. And dapat i-state niya dun sa na yung opinion niya is just a reasonable assurance. It is not it's not an absolute guarantee or a 100% na sigurado talaga. Kasi, syempre, meron tayong tinatawag ng inherent limitations. Kaya, imposible makapag-provide ng absolute guarantee si auditor. So, only reasonable assurance yung kayang ibigay ni auditor. So, yon, isa yun sa mga responsibilities niya. Also, pwede ring magbigay si auditor ng link or website ng mga responsibilities ng auditor under this part ng auditor's report. Para yung mga users, pwede nilang bisitahin or tingnan yung websites na yon at malaman nila kung ano yung iba't ibang responsibilities ng auditor. The seventh element is other reporting responsibilities. Auditor may have additional responsibilities to report on other matters that are supplementary to the auditor's responsibility to report on the financial statements under PSA. For example, auditors are required to report on supplementary information to comply with the requirements of the Bureau of Internal Revenue. And then, if the auditor's report contains a separate section on the other reporting responsibilities, the auditor's report on financial statements should have a title, Report on the Audit of Financial Statements, to clearly distinguish the auditor's responsibility to report on the financial statements from the auditor's other reporting responsibilities. Then, as a minimum, the auditor should inquire from management how the supplementary information was prepared, determine whether the supplementary information is consistent with the financial statements and auditor's overall knowledge of the entity, and consider whether there is a need for a client representation letter to make reference to the supplementary information. So, dito sa other information, andito yung mga financial and non-financial informations tulad ng mga plano ng management in the future, mga messages ng top levels. Tinitingnan din dito ng auditor kung may material na inconsistencies ba between sa kung ano yung na-obtain niya from the evidences sa assertion or the financial statements na binigay ng management and sa nakalagay sa information sa other information. So, yun, tinitingnan niya. So, kung meron siyang nakita, pwede niyang i-report ito sa management para magkaroon siya ng access sa mga documents ng management and ma-solve itong mga inconsistencies na ito. So, dito sa sample, kung mapapansin nyo, di ba, nakalagay yung title na Report on Other Legal and Regulatory Requirements. So, ito yung example ng other information. So, for the eighth element is the auditor's signature. The report should be signed in the name of the audit firm and or the personal name of the auditor as appropriate. For financial statements to be submitted to the regulatory body, Securities Regulations Code of the Philippine Securities and Exchange Commission requires that the auditor's report be signed in the personal name of the partner. So, meaning, dito kasi sa Pilipinas, required na manual yung pagsasign ng firm name and ng auditor's name or the engagement partner's name. And kapag pag-listed entities, dapat required din na nakalagay yung name ni engagement partner. Pero, subject ito sa exception. Kasi, pwede niyang hindi ilagay o i-disclose yung name niya if, for example, merong threat may threat sa buhay niya, kaya hindi niya dinidisclose. So, yun, valid naman yun. So, pwedeng firm name lang yung ilalagay niya dun sa signature. For the ninth element is the auditor's address. The auditor's report should name the location in the jurisdiction where the auditor maintains his office. Dito, hindi naman kailangan na specific address nung firm yung ilalagay. Sapat na yung mismong parang lugar lang yung ilalagay sa auditor's address. Kasi ang purpose lang naman nito is if ever halimbawa may mga questions or gustong pumunta dun sa firm mo, alam kung saang lugar yung pupuntahan. So for the 10th and also the last element, the date of the report. The date of the report is important because this is the date when the auditor's responsibility for subsequent event ends. This date informs the readers that the auditor has considered the financial statement effects of subsequent events that occurred up to the date of the auditor's report. At this date, the auditor must have completed all essential audit procedures to provide a basis for the opinion. The auditor is not ordinarily required to carry out any audit procedures after the date of the report. And then, since the auditor's opinion is provided on the financial statements that are the responsibility of management, the auditor is not in a position to conclude that sufficient appropriate and audit evidence has been obtained until the financial statements have been prepared and management has accepted responsibility for them. Consequently, the auditor cannot date the auditor's report earlier than the date of the approval of the financial statements. In fact, most auditors use the date of the approval of the financial statements as the date of their audit report. So, ibig sabihin lamang nito, hindi naman pwedeng gumawa or mag-express ng opinion si auditor bago pa siya makakuha or maka-obtain ng mga evidences. Kasi, di ba yung opinion na ginagawa niya is based sa based sa mga evidences na makukuha niya. So, saan niya i-base yung opinion kung hindi pa nga siya nakakakuha, di ba? And also, dapat daw on or after the date na nakakuha siya ng sufficient and appropriate evidences, saka lang siya pwede mag-express ng opinion. Which is true kasi dun pa lang siya magkakaroon ng basehan. Dun niya palang i-base yung magiging opinion niya pagkatapos niyang makuha or mag-gather yung mga evidences. And also, it is important to take note na dapat bago mag-express si auditor ng opinion, dapat meron munang approved or authorized na financial statements ang entity. Kasi itong authorized financial statements ng entity, ito yung magiging management representation. So, kung wala ito, walang i-audit si auditor. So guys, for number 8, 9, and 10, please refer to the sample na provide ko. So, Perez Zese Villa and Company, ito yung name ng firm. Alma C. Zese CPA, which is the name of the engagement partner. Then the Manila, Philippines, which is the address of the auditing firm. And sa pinaka-bottom is March 31, 2023. Ito naman yung date of report. So, kung mapapansin natin, yung independent auditor's report na sample na nakuha ko sa libro ni Hermosilla Chu and Salusagcol is a perfect example kasi nakasunod siya sa lahat ng sinabi nung standards. So guys, that is the end of my report. I hope you learned something from me. Thank you.